Hello geeks and she-geeks, I'm Flynn and welcome to another video. Well, the news is out and it seems HBO is developing a new series based on the comic The Watchmen. Hearing this news alone is exciting considering after 3 decades, The Watchmen has become one of the most iconic books in the history of comics. In fact, there is not one comic shop in the US that does not have a copy sitting on the shelf, including the majority of major bookstores. And that should come to no surprise considering that The Watchmen is one of 2 comics that revolutionized the comic industry and changed the landscape going forward. In February of 1986, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns was released, and later that year The Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. Both were published by DC Comics, and both broke away from the traditional kid-friendly medium by covering more adult content that centered around sex and violence. And even though they both dealt with graphic sex and violence, it was The Watchmen that went beyond The Dark Knight with stories that followed dogs being slaughtered to a disturbing rape scene. And those stories created a level of controversy that cemented The Watchmen's provocative reputation as a game changer for the medium. Now it's 2018 and HBO is developing a series with potential showrunner Damon Lindelof, and it has quite a cast. There's Regina King, the series lead, Don Johnson, Tim Blake Nielsen, Lou Gossett Jr., Adelaine Clemens, and Jeremy Irons. As I said before, that is quite a cast of heavy hitters, and as a fan I am super excited. But at the same time, I'm also concerned, because in today's world we have people running some of the biggest franchises in the history of cinema, and they have absolutely no idea about the product they're producing. Take Lucasfilms for example. The Last Jedi divided the fan base, and Solo was a production nightmare from the beginning, doubled with an extremely low performance in the theaters. But both movies dishonored the franchise, broke the continuity, and just disgraced the characters we all loved and enjoyed for years. So you can quickly see why fans would be concerned when someone wants to retell or add to a story as iconic as The Watchmen. Unfortunately, until we see it, we will have no idea whether it honors the franchise or disgraces it. In fact, the only comfort that can be found at this point is trusting in the words of the series creator himself, Damon Lindelof. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with Damon Lindelof, he is the creator of Lost and The Leftovers. He has also developed the screenplays for World War Z, Star Trek Into the Darkness, and Prometheus. So it sounds like he has dabbled in the fandoms that we all love. And on his Instagram, he has posted a short story that talks about his journey from a child who first discovers The Watchmen up until now as an adult who gets the opportunity to develop a series within the Watchmen universe. The story is 5 pages long, so I'm not going to read it all here, but for those interested, you can check it out at the link below. Now, I am going to talk about some parts of the story, mainly the ones regarding his creative intentions. So in his story, Lindelof says, "We have no desire to adapt the 12 issues Mr. Moore and Mr. Gibbons created 30 years ago. Those issues are sacred ground and they will not be retread, nor recreated, nor reproduced, nor rebooted. They will, however, be remixed, because the bass lines in those familiar tracks are just too good, and we'd be fools not to sample them. Those original 12 issues are our Old Testament, and so it will be with The Watchmen. The comedian died, Dan and Lori fell in love, Ozymandias saved the world, and Dr. Manhattan left just after blowing Rorschach to pieces in the bitter cold of Antarctica. To be clear, Watchmen is canon. But we are not making a sequel either. This story will be set in a world its creators painstakingly built, but in the tradition of the work that inspired it, this new story must be original. It has to vibrate with the seismic unpredictability of its own tectonic plates. It must ask new questions and explore the world through a fresh lens. Most importantly, it must be contemporary." If we take nothing else from his story, we can at least say that he understands the monumental challenge that stands before him. Meaning if he dishonors the franchise, the series is over before it even starts. But I wanted to draw attention to his statement, it must be contemporary. The original Watchmen story was built around some of the headlines that were going on in the country in the 80s. So it is possible this new series could do the same. Also, contemporary could mean that this story will be existing at the same time as the original. Maybe we'll see the story from a new angle. Maybe we'll see things from the eyes of normal everyday people. Who knows? It's all speculation at this point. So what is the series about? Well, that's where things get a little murkier. So Lindelof goes on to say, some of the characters will be unknown, new faces, new masks to cover them. We also intend to revisit the past century of costume adventuring through a surprising, yet familiar set of eyes. I'm not really sure where they are planning to go with this series, but if they are planning to revisit the past century of costumes heroes, that could be interesting. If they did a show that changes each week, and each week they follow a new costumed hero, and it was narrated by Rorschach himself, it could be a Tales from the Crypt Watchmen style. I'd definitely sign on for that. But who knows, we'll just have to wait and see, and as new news surfaces, I'll keep you updated. But don't expect this series to arrive anytime before 2019. The suits at HBO won't even sign off on the series until they see the pilot, which is currently shooting now. And that's it for me. Be sure to post your comments down below and I'll do my best to respond. If you like this video, then smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. And if you never want to miss a video, then ring that bell. And we'll see you next time.